Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. My name is Natalia Moczulska and this is the news. The 100th day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine has passed. On February 24th, Putin gave the order to start a senseless, unprovoked, brutal war that has already cost the lives of thousands of soldiers and civilians. Faced with the failure of quick defeat and seizure of Kiev, the Russians are now focusing on occupying the entire Donbass and a quarter to Crimea. The Russian Federation's attack on Ukraine was preceded by the bombing of cities and civilian targets in the interior of the country. On February 24th, around 8 a.m. Polish time, Russian soldiers entered the territory of our eastern neighbor. The attack was launched from 3 directions. The aggressor entered the Kharkiv, Sumy, Chernihiv, and Kherson oblasts. Right before the outbreak of the war, Vladimir Putin delivered a message to the nation during a televised speech. He called the aggression a special military operation aimed at demilitarizing and denazifying Ukraine. The People's Republic of Donbass turned to Russia for help. Therefore, in accordance with Article 51 of the Law on the Council of the Russian Federation, and taking into account the friendship and mutual assistance agreements with the Donetsk and Lugansk republics, we adopted a decision to conduct a special military operation. Putin planned a quick war, the main goal of which was to capture Kiev. His plans were torpedoed thanks to the heroic attitude of Ukrainian soldiers. On the second day of the war, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky appealed to Putin to negotiate peacefully and end the war as soon as possible. I appeal to the President of the Russian Federation. Fighting continues throughout the territory of Ukraine. Let's sit down to talk and stop any further bloodshed. President Zelensky's appeal went unanswered. The Russians continued their brutal actions against civilians. The shelling of Ukrainian cities continued. In order to break the Ukrainian morale, the Russians terrorized the inhabitants of the occupied territories. The scale of bestiality in Bucha near Kiev was shown by satellite photos, on which a mass grave was discovered. Several hundred victims were buried there. I was looking for my husband for 13 days. I went to the basement. There were 2 bodies inside. I recognized my husband by his shoes and pants. His face was mutilated. His body was cold. He was killed with a shot to the head. He was mutilated and tortured. Russian actions grew more brutal day by day. The aggressor, when leaving Ukrainian cities, used the so-called scorched earth tactic. Moreover, the Russians mined shops and apartments. In order to hide the enormity of their crimes, the Russians used mobile crematoria. Mariupol became the symbol of the extermination war. It's the second day we're doing this. 4 people, retirees. We found 2 on the next street. We clean up because the bodies break down. It has to be done. One unidentified man without documents was lying next to the theater. We added him to the mass grave. It was a young man who had died at the gate by shelling at the beginning of the conflict. Irpień, Hostomel, and these and other Ukrainian cities, Russian soldiers wreaked the greatest havoc. According to the information provided by the Ukrainian authorities, among the victims of war crimes found there were raped women who they tried to burn, as well as representatives of local authorities and children. This is not a special operation. It is just barbarism. These are ordinary racists, fascists, monsters who simply commit crimes against civilians, raping, killing, shooting them in the back of the head. The whole world must know about it. On the 100th day of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized the determination and the nation's undying will to fight. The leader of the ruling party is here, my associates, and so am I. Our team consists of many more people. There are also representatives of the armed forces and, above all, the nation. We have been defending Ukraine for 100 days. Victory will be ours. The most difficult situation is currently in the Donbass. Fighting is taking place in the center of Severodonetsk in the Luhansk region. The Russians are shelling the city, as well as neighboring Lysychansk and other towns. According to experts, the Russians are currently working on the enemy's fatigue. However, as predicted by General Dariusz Wroński, the conflict may be resolved within months. If they do not end by early winter, meaning late fall or early winter this year, then this war, this invasion, will last for another year, and it is not known whether it will end by the next fall. But from a political point of view, this war may end, finish even in September or October.
patrzą na to militarnie.
According to the authorities of the Kharkiv region, during the 100 days of the war, the enemy is driven out of Kharkiv and 23 towns in the region were liberated. In turn, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced that from February 24th, the Russians lost, among others, over 30,000 soldiers, 1,367 tanks, and 210 aircraft. After 100 days of war, Russia took over 20% of Ukraine's territory, but without achieving its main goal, which was the capture of Kiev. Today, the front line is over 1,000 kilometers long. The Kremlin's current goal is to conquer the entire Donbass. As reported by police and local officials, at least 3 people were killed and 16 severely injured when a regional trail derailed in southern Germany today. Today at 12:19 p.m., a serious train crash occurred here in Garmisch-Partenkirchen district. A regional train which departed from the town of Garmisch-Partenkirchen heading to Munich derailed shortly after leaving the station. Several train cars tipped over and fell down an embankment. Several people were injured and possibly we have to mourn several dead. A large rescue operation was immediately put in place. A large number of members of the police and fire department are at the scene. Unfortunately, we do not yet have exact figures. For now, the rescue operation is ongoing. The injured are being tended to. Those who are not injured are being taken care of and brought to a meeting point to be received by their next of kin. At the same time, an investigation as to the cause of the accident is underway. In total, 60 people were hurt in the accident, said a Garmisch-Partenkirchen district office spokesperson. There were also several school students on board the train. Pictures showed carriages of a double-decker regional train stuck between tree branches and rolled down an embankment, as well as people being carried away on stretchers, standing around on the tracks. A major emergency services operation was still underway, police said, and the rail line was currently completely closed. Regional trains have seen higher passenger numbers since June 1st, when a ticket allowing Germany-wide travel came into effect. Turkey changes its English international name from Turkey to Türkiye. Several international organizations will be asked to change the name as part of a rebranding campaign initiated by the Turkish president late last year. Türkiye is the best representation and expression of the culture, civilization, and values of the Turkish people, Turkey's President Erdogan said in December. Yesterday, the United Nations announced that the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs had submitted a request to change the official name of the country. It was positively considered. From now on, the country's international name is Türkiye. It replaced the previous Turkey, which in English was associated mainly with Thanksgiving thanks to turkey, which is the main dish eaten that day. In Turkey, the change was introduced last year. All products exported abroad will be signed with the slogan, Made in Türkiye, from now on. To familiarize the international community with the introduced changes, the Hello Türkiye promotional campaign was launched in January. The initiative of the authorities in Ankara is not a precedent. In 2020, the Netherlands decided to take a similar step and change its name to the Netherlands. Earlier, due to a political dispute with Greece, Macedonia changed its name to North Macedonia. To end the first day of the Platinum Jubilee of Reign, Queen Elizabeth II took part in lighting the main lighthouse at Windsor Castle. Today in the Cathedral of St. Paul, a Thanksgiving service for the Queen was held, and tomorrow guests will arrive at Buckingham Palace to take part in the great anniversary party. As part of the ceremony, a concert will be held and broadcast live. Yesterday evening, at the end of the first day of the Platinum Jubilee of Reign, lanterns were lit in more than 2,000 British towns and capitals of the Commonwealth of Nations. Queen Elizabeth II took part in lighting the main lighthouse at Windsor Castle. Today, in turn, the celebration was initiated by the National Thanksgiving Service in London's St. Paul, but without the Queen, who was recently forced to cancel a series of events and celebrations due to mobility problems. For the Thanksgiving service at the cathedral came among others Prince William and his wife, Princess Kate, and Prince Harry and his wife, Princess Meghan, who made their first public appearance in Britain since resigning from royal duties 2 years ago. Prime Ministers Boris Johnson and Tony Blair and David Cameron were present as well. Queen Elizabeth II, who is a devout Christian and titular head of the Church of England, was represented by her son and heir to the throne, Prince Charles. Queen Elizabeth watched the service on television at her home in Windsor Castle near London. The central celebration of the Platinum Jubilee of Elizabeth II will last until Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, it's have a great weekend.